Economists at the UN climate talks in Baku, Azerbaijan, say developing countries need at least $1 trillion per year by the end of the decade to cope with the impact of climate change. However, early efforts to reach a finance deal risk being overshadowed by diplomatic rows. Sourcing capital and at a relatively low cost is a huge topic at COP29. The success of the ASEAN summit may be judged by whether or not countries can agree on a new target of how much richer countries, multilateral lenders and the private sector must provide each year to help developing countries finance the transition to greener energy and protect against extreme weather. Reaching a deal is likely to be especially hard at a summit where the mood has been soured by disputes and pessimism about shifts in global politics.
The atmosphere in the Article 6 room is definitely improved, and I would say it's improved in large part through the U.S. Recognizing, along with other parties, that we're keen to settle all the rules last year in Dubai on the basis that we had agreed everything we needed to agree, to acknowledge that additional rules would actually help in improving the transparency and accountability of carbon markets. My perception is that they continue to play that role in the room now in helping to broker compromises and providing their expertise on both carbon markets but also on legal drafting, and the mood remains very, very constructive. Will that mean that we wrap it up this week? It's been my experience that as long as there is a little bit more time to negotiate on something that's that complicated, we'll take it. So I don't think that we will completely close every issue this week, but I think that we will have developed a momentum that will ensure that we wrap it up certainly in the early part of next week.
We earlier spoke to Fadhel Kaboub, a senior advisor at PowerShift Africa, on the climate finance dilemma and the target of $1.3 trillion by 2035. Let's listen in.
Climate finance in this context needs to be in the form of grants, not loans and further economic entrapment. It needs to come in the form of transfer and sharing of life-saving technology that is being withheld from us, technology to manufacture and deploy the renewable energy infrastructure that we need, the clean cooking infrastructure, the clean transportation infrastructure. And climate finance needs to be in the form of cancellation of all climate-related debts that have been accumulated by the African continent. We're still talking about a loss and damage fund that has $700 million, and now it has $719 million, thanks to a pledge by Sweden a couple of days ago. We're still talking about the kind of money that doesn't actually cover the cost of loss and damage in the global south. So if we're not accelerating the volume of climate finance and we're not improving the quality of climate finance, we'll see that these more devastating climate events will have long-lasting, devastating economic impacts that will set our countries back every time we're hit by a storm, every time we're hit by droughts and floods. And that's just not the way to move forward. The negotiation for climate finance with the global north, with the industrialized countries, requires a geopolitical leverage, because you can go to COP and ask for 5 trillion, ask for 1 trillion. We can even ask for $5. I guarantee you we will not get anything because we don't have a leverage for negotiations. So that's why I always say a no deal at COP is better than a bad deal. So the question is, how do we create the pressure point, the geopolitical leverage, to force the other side to actually pay what they owe? And I think there's a small window of opportunity here with the shifting geopolitical moment to strategically reposition the African continent at the center of a new international economic order. And that is joining together, co-designing a joint industrial policy for real green industrialization to manufacture and deploy the renewable energy infrastructure,